What was more impressive what LSU did with being able to salvage the recruiting class, or their backs up against the wall and how they were performing in both the transfer portal? What was your takeaway of LSU over the last couple of weeks of work that they've done?
Yeah, I think the Perkins one is just more of a surprise in a way, in terms of what people might have thought in December, say, where I think the transfer stuff probably has greater actual value, just the plugging a just depleted roster, patching holes. You're not back to where you want it, but you are stable. You can compete a decent bit this year. I think that is obviously more important, even if a lot of the additions aren't as, sexy. But the Perkins one might be a bigger signifier, just the idea that, okay, the number one question that we all had was, could they win battles like this? And this is kind of just a signifier. Hey, they can play ball. They can do these things a little bit. And it is a double-edged sword because at the same time they lost on a bunch of major in-state kids. So I guess I don't want to give them too much credit, but yeah, I think that's a big one. I think that really kind of surprised me more. But at the same time, I don't think anyone can understate the way they've done the portal, because the thing I give the credit, and I think we've talked about this before, is it's not just that they got a lot of guys. It seems like they did it in a responsible, for lack of a better word, way. It was, hey, we're going to balance the years, make sure we're actually kind of getting things back where each position is actually, freshmen, sophomore, juniors, seniors, getting guys who are character guys, getting guys who want to be there, not just, and maybe ignoring talented players who have some red flags. I think they did a good job of that. So I think that's probably the more impressive part.
What are you looking most forward to seeing in spring? Is there a competition? Is there a group? Is there a specific coach on the field? Is there anything that you're going into spring that you're most eager to see?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think it doesn't fall in the exciting category, but I think I'm just intrigued by Matt House, so I'm looking forward to seeing him at DC because, and I say this as somebody whose job it is to know things, but at the same time, like, my thing with Matt House right now is I know he's a good coach, but I don't know an extreme amount. Even when you talk about like what Kentucky did well those years of things, it was like they had a good defense. There's no like with Bo Pelini or all these things, what they are, and I don't have this deep understanding of Matt House yet. So I think I'm really interested to see what Matt House is like as a DC and what he wants to do with all these guys. But I think the other that maybe also isn't as fun, but it's so important, is just what the corner pecking order looks like, because it is. I just have no idea. Is Mekhi Garner a guy who's ready to play right away? All those kind of things. I'm really intrigued to see how, those three transfers there, do they move like a Jay Ward around, stuff like that. I don't know what they're going to do. And then I think the obvious other one is I want to see like our Miles Frazier and these guys, are they ready to go? So I guess transfers are the theme there.
Yeah. Were you able to get any return on Mike Denbrock and House as recruiters? Were they able to make an impact in this cycle?
I do believe Matt House had an impact with Harold Perkins. Obviously it's tough because they were still, literally in the playoffs. But at the same time, I think he was able to hop on some Zooms with him. He was able to kind of have a little bit, I think most of the credit there goes to the Frank Wilsons and Carter Sheridans of the world. But still, I think he was able to kind of lay out a plan a little bit. Denbrock, I do think he was involved in recruiting Denny Lewis, for example, and some others that they didn't exactly work out.
Yeah. Brody Miller joining us here on the Jordy Culotta Show. Remember to follow him on Twitter at Brody A. Miller to keep up with what's happening. What was the biggest task that you thought that Brian Kelly had to take care of first and foremost? Was it the roster management?
I think the number one task, the honest answer is probably roster management. Yeah, just because that is a multi-year process. It's one that probably could be so overwhelming because you really are threading this needle of needing to patch a roster right away, but not wanting to do it in a way that's that is mortgaging your future. And I think that they did a pretty responsible job there of balancing, freshman transfers, sophomore transfers, maybe avoiding this guy because he doesn't fit the long-term thing, avoiding this guy because he's got some red flags and what the guy's going to still make the locker room better, making transfers, the portal a nuanced thing that actually is helping you in the long term and not just patching holes. That's really tricky. And obviously we'll see if it really is good, but I think that's the biggest challenge. And the other, which does go hand in hand with that, is, rebuilding a culture, and again, I don't think they literally kicked guys off, but, we all know there were 2, maybe 3 guys who, had some issues that, maybe were nudged out a little, and I think those are things that are really important. And I'm not going to sit here and say it's good that, so many staff members lost their job. Of course not. But at the same time, he is going in there and really trying to reset that culture. So I think those are the two biggest challenges he has, because those are the ones that take years. Those are the ones that aren't going to be quick fixes. And, again, I will not even pretend to know if the results are there yet, if he's actually changed the culture. God knows. But it does seem like he's making, he's really going for it and not just making half measures.